Q&A number 4. Let's have a go. Okay guys, welcome back to Vaping Q&A number 4. We're going back to pre-recorded one this time, and then we'll do another live one after that. I hope the live one went down alright. Mixed reports. A few people said they didn't know anything about it and I should have put a schedule thing up on YouTube. Yes, I should. It was very last minute, and you know, I almost bottled doing it, so I didn't want to say I was going to do it and then not do it. So it was very last minute. Apologies for that. Seemed to go down okay overall. There were a few bits that I've read in the comments, and I will address those and try and do a better live show next time. So thank you for tuning in. As always, if you're watching this and you have an answer to a question that is being answered by me, put your answer to that question in the comments. People can read that, and your answer, your opinion is just as valid as mine. I absolutely believe that. So, you know, everybody read the comments and everyone comment with their answers if they wish. Also, most importantly, please ask questions in the comments. It makes it a lot easier for me if you stick your questions in the comments so I can answer them on the next video, be it live, be it pre-recorded, what have you. So please put your questions in the comments. For those that haven't seen this before, I just answer a set of vaping questions, then some silly random ones at the end. Let's get in. Oh, what am I vaping on? I'm vaping on the Punk 220 from Tesla with the Boreas V2 from Orgvape. So there we go. Let's get into it. John Armstrong says, do you think temp control was a cul-de-sac, and is it now dead in the water? I think there's still quite a few people that like it, actually. I just think that they keep to themselves and they're quite quiet about it. I don't think it needs to be on every mod. I think if you're looking at a percentage, and I don't have like an actual statistical number to throw at you, but looking at the interest levels on my comment section, the comments that I get on a device that is not TC, has TC, what have you, it does feel like the percentage is very low of people that are still interested and still in temperature control. For me, it was always sort of a fundamentally flawed thing. Temperature control, if you build correctly and you wick correctly and you know what you're doing, when you're vaping in temp control, you should see no difference in the way it vapes to normal. It's only if you hit a problem that it impacts you. The vape will suddenly go weak because your wicks have got dry for whatever reason. So it's kind of only a thing when you have a problem. And how often these days can you honestly say, as a hobbyist vapor, that you have a dry hit? Insanely rare that I ever run into a problem like that. So I think that was a fundamentally flawed thing. It was like a problem. It was a solution to a problem that didn't really exist. How many people were struggling with dry hits? On the health side of things, that's a really tough one, you know, because there is a lot of feedback, a lot of results and scientific experiments that suggest that certain temperatures, and when you go over certain temperatures, you are releasing potentially more harmful chemicals in your vape. That's the whole thing, though. But for that to become the reason for temperature control, actual concern of that problem would have to grow. And right now, it doesn't seem like people give a monkeys about that. People are vaping hotter and hotter and hotter, higher and higher and higher wattages, with complete disregard to that line of inquiry and that concern. So I don't know if that becomes a concern that people actually care about, then maybe TC will have a revival. But as it stands, it does seem to be phasing out. Nick Meehan says, question, who is going to be the new member of the Ideal Ohm Show? The new member of the Ideal Ohm Show, we don't know. We don't know yet at all. We have a shortlist that is top secret, but it might not be anyone on there. It might be someone on there. We genuinely do not know at this point who is going to be the new 4th member of the Ideal Ohm Show. It's very important to us that it is a mate. It has to be a mate. We don't want it to be manufactured love, massaged love, pretend love. We want it to be someone that we already know and love. So it makes it very tricky, you know, and it's a tough schedule. Every Thursday night, 9 PM UK time, the Ideal Ohm Show, and you have to prep for that show all week. It's a long show as well, you know, 1.5 hours minimum, goes up 2 hours, over 2 hours sometimes. So it's a tough gig. So the person has to be well up for it. and you know, all that stuff. He also asked Nick Meehan, what is your best coil in an RDA? Oh, that's tricky, because what I tend to do is this. I tend to, with RDAs especially at the moment, I tend to just get out my Coil Master. This video is not sponsored by Coil Master. I get out my Coil Master Skynet, which just is a range of fancy coils, Claptons, Flaptons, Aliens, and I just stick any of those in. And, you know, they're all quite low resistance, so they all taste good in mechs, yet, you know, you can adjust your wattage for all the fanciness as well. So at the moment, you know, I don't make my own Clapton wire or anything like that, so I tend to be sticking in a coil from the Coilmaster Skynet coil kit pack thing. So that's what I tend to be doing with that. Leon T81 says, question, I have been considering getting a mechanical mod recently. I rarely vape below 0.25 ohms. Is there much point going mechanical, or should I stick to regulated mods? Cheers. It's purely your choice. Now, you say that you rarely go below 0.25 ohms, but at what wattage are you at with your mod, you know? Because obviously that's a fundamental issue with that. So I need to know what wattage you're at, really. If you look at your mod and you turn it up to your preferred wattage, you've got your 0.25 coil in there, and if the voltage is saying anything between sort of 3.5 and 4 volts, then that would vape easily as well and really nice on a mech. That would vape well on a mech. If, however, it's saying 2.7 volts or even 5 volts or something like that, then obviously a mech wouldn't be any good for you. A mech is just going to hit that set power, that 3.7-ish volt range for most of its battery life. It's going to be hitting that mark. So, you know, it does depend. If that range, if you're within that range though, definitely do take a look at a mech. If you're comfortable with battery safety and you understand what a mechanical mod is. I love my mechanical mods. I love the vape on them. It's a clean, instant power that you get from a mech. That's what keeps people coming back and loving it. If like it just totally depends. It totally depends on what wattage you're at. A mechanical mod, you know, I still like them, and I don't know why, because a regulated mod can do the exact same thing with all the bells and whistles, but there's just something so nice about that straight power mechanical. Andy Fairchild says, question, if you had to choose one style of vaping to use for the next year, what would it be? Like subtank, squonking, mech RDA, etc. Okay, so I have said this quite a lot in the past. The way I would vape if I didn't do any of this, the way I would vape is a dual parallel mechanical mod with an RDA on top. That is how I would vape if I didn't do any of this and wasn't interested in all this thing and chasing new stuff and doing new stuff. That is how I would vape. I just really like the straight power output of the mechanical mod, as I've said, but I love the overhead of amp coverage that you get from a dual parallel and the additional battery life. And it hits slightly harder as well, to be quite as precise, because there's less battery sag because it's going across 2 batteries rather than 1. So my style, if you like, if I was only using one style for a year, would be dual parallel with an RDA on top. Okay, got time for a couple of silly questions. Let's do it. Harry Rubberball says, is that you in the YouTube profile pic made up to be Groucho Marx? I got Groucho Marx there. My profile pic is Groucho Marx as well. It isn't. There's no Photoshop trickery. It's not me and him merged together. It is just him. On some of my avatars or profile pics that I use, some of them I've replaced the cigar with a mod, just for pure comedy value. But no, it's just Groucho Marx. I really like Groucho Marx. He's ace. He's ace, as is Muhammad Ali. So there we go. Yeah, and that's not me. That's not me blacked up boxing in that photograph as well. L. Ashton says, do you read the newspaper in paper form regularly? Okay, so if I get a train, if I've got a meeting in my day job and I need to get a train, I will read the Metro. It's good. The news is a bit out of date. It's a little bit simplified and what have you. It's not a great read, but yeah, I'll read the Metro if bored on the train. And on Sundays I sometimes get the Observer. Not because of any political views or anything like that. They have some really good sports columnists, and they sometimes have some quite colourful feature editors and feature writers as well. But that's not anything to do with any sort of political bias. That just tends to be the one that falls on my lap on some Sundays. So there we go. Rick Trenkler says, what is the first album CD you bought? I think I've covered this in a vlog once, actually. But yeah, the first album I ever got was on tape, cassette tape, and it was Children of the Light by Jackson 5. I'm not going to tell you what my second album was, but it was not as cool as that. Even if that one is cool or not cool, I don't know. If you don't have any questions or anything to comment about at all in the comment section, comment with what your first album was. That would be cool. Okay, so that is all we've got time for in this one. Please put your questions in the comments. It doesn't work. This whole format doesn't work if you don't do that. If it's super private and super personal, just use my email address in the description and I'll anonymise your question. But yeah, put your questions in the comments. Let me know if you're still enjoying this feature. I'll be Vick, and I'll see you again soon.